What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast. Happy Hour Hoops. Season started. We got basketball back in full force. It's every night. It's Happy Hour Hoops with Steve, Jake, and myself. Today, we're going to be talking everything from the latest news and notes since the season has started about a week and a half in. Talking surprise teams, so good or bad, teams that have surprised us thus far. I got a few things to get off my chest towards the end of the episode, and then we are going to be having another draft, a draft of non-household names. So somewhere between the stars and the role players in this league. I guess they could be role players as well, but we're going to be drafting those guys. So how we doing, fellas? Let's talk hoops.
We're doing great. We get to talk regular season basketball finally. Best sport in the world has returned. It's been. I'll be honest with you guys. I'll be perfectly honest. I checked out on the World Series. I checked out on the primetime football games. I told my buddies, I'm like, just give me score updates because I got two screens and I got two basketball games going at all times right now. Couldn't be more excited, Donnie. We finally get to talk some regular season basketball. I'm excited, and Don't want to spoil anything, but the Mavs are looking all right so far. They're looking okay.
The Mavs are looking great.
Oh boy,
Jake, how about you? Where's the excitement at?
I'm with Steve. I've not watched a single second did not watch a single second of baseball.
It's over now. By the way, if people were wondering.
Now, we don't care anymore. Wasn't worried about it. The football game Monday, thought about watching it, and then I saw those jerseys, and I said, "There's no way I'm fucking watching this for 2 hours." That atrocity
so bad, man.
Going on, and that'll be tonight too. I ain't watching this terrible ass, gross 13-10 football game. Even we got Wemby versus Durant round 2.
We got TNT doubleheader. Come on now.
Let's lock in. It is a great time. Last night I finally got to sit down. I had a screen of I had the Cavs on one screen. I had the Sabres on my laptop. I had wrestling on the other screen, and it was like I was whole again. I felt like the whole version of Jake in that moment. But it's great to have hoops back, and I can't wait to break it down with y'all.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the TNT doubleheader. On Tuesday night, me and my roommates were sitting on the couch, and it was a bit before either of the games started, but we just had like a random station on. No one was watching. It was a commercial, and I was like, "Hey, you guys mind if I throw on TNT?" And they were like, "What's on TNT?" And they're like, "The game's not on yet." I'm like, "Bro, we got Shaq, Chuck, the Jet, and Ernie for a half hour. Dude, that's
what do you mean? What's on TNT?"
God. That's also primetime TV.
If you are a Max subscriber, my favorite thing was being home yesterday, working from home Wednesday, and Inside the NBA fully uploaded to Max the night after.
Yeah.
And I just got to lock in because I always went back last year, watched the clips on YouTube, but it's not the same. Cut up everything, whole show uploaded after. That is awesome. A gift from heavens to basketball fans. I can't wait to do that all year long too.
Yeah, I mean that's a great little note there. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
love Inside the NBA. Love those guys. I mean, I think even outside, even if they weren't talking about basketball, I'd be entertained. But it's just that much better that they're 3 Hall of Famers. Ernie, might as well throw Ernie Johnson to the Hall of Fame. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. It's not the Basketball Playing Hall of Fame. He might have a spot in there. But yeah. We love it. It's back. It's October. It's the best time of year for sports. And we have news and notes because, unfortunately, for some, there's some injuries, there's some trades. And let's just start about our favorite character in this NBA universe.
Just rip the band-aid.
Yeah, but this might be it, though, right? Listen,
hopefully. Until this is the last we'll hear of him
until January when he's mad at Paul George for stepping on his sneaker or something.
How about that look? That the Terrence Mann meme? I've saved that to my phone and we'll be using that endlessly. What a great shot of him in the background there. Just no notes.
Yeah, just not entertained, not phased. James Harden traded to the Clippers. My first note I have here is yuck, because we have to talk about him at the top of a show again. Second, and we'll talk about the Clippers obviously because it's the most intriguing side of the trade. But I want to just no need to preface this. Do you guys just think what we've seen so far and what the deal looks like? Do you guys think the Sixers got better by doing this deal? Is there any way that's possible for this season? Do you think the Sixers
not for this season?
I don't think either team got better. To be honest,
I definitely don't think the Clippers did. I was wondering if you guys thought the Sixers might have. I mean, I don't necessarily know if I believe that, but I do think it was pretty incredible the haul they were able to get back for James, especially in the stuck spot that they were in. I mean, you got obviously it's a bunch of not meaningful guys, right? Like Covington, Marcus Morris, Nick Batum. I think guys that will help and maybe add some toughness to this Sixers team that they were lacking.
Least, right?
Depth, toughness, and then the only reason I think you maybe could argue is just like you just have that burden gone. You don't have to worry about how he's going to be in game. You don't have to worry about him taking touches away from Maxey, who's been incredible this year. And I don't know, maybe it gives some peace of mind to Joel as well. But so I don't know if we can believe that, but I did have to pose the question.
Yeah, I mean, in that sense of the form, right, I guess, it really might help unleash Tyrese Maxey because we've seen what he's done so far is he's sometimes becoming the number one option for stretches in the offense when he gets going. And I think that'll help the Sixers a little bit. And obviously, not having Harden there as a distraction off the court or, locker room issues, whatever. But, if anyone, any NBA fan who saw this when this tweet came out at 2 a.m, Woj dropped the Woj bomb.
What's good with the Clippers, man? They always do this.
They always do this to us. But anyone who kind of read the trade details, doesn't matter how we feel about Harden or if he's even going to play another game in Philly. Everyone who read it been like, wow, that's all they got, right? I think every NBA fan who saw that deal initially goes, that's all the Sixers were able to get. Because at the end of the day, we know he probably wasn't going to play for the Sixers again. Yeah, we know he has his off-court issues. But we're talking about James Harden. When on the court and when he's fully checked in, he's one of the best playmaking guards in the NBA. And that's not debatable. He's a guy who can get a triple-double pretty much any night. We're talking about a guy who used to be a scoring champion. And maybe he's trending downward and he's past that. But you can't look at, what the Sixers got in return and just be like, oh, yeah, I think that was a good value back, right? I think that's
especially for what they gave up for him.
Exactly.
Too, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, maybe Harden wasn't going to play there. Maybe they had to get what they could, and they got some assets. They got some guys, veteran guys for the bench. But at the end of the day, no basketball fan, and I hate James Harden as much as the next guy. I can't stand the guy. But I can't look at this and be like, oh, yeah, Sixers won the deal. Right? It's just like, that's all they got, really? I don't like James Harden, but really, that's all they got?
Well, also just what happened. Because he took less money to take that deal last year and everything.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's a telltale sign for an NBA deal that you think you're getting paid. And then they didn't give him that. And he had the quote in the summer that Daryl Morey is a liar in front of all the random kids in China. And it's just like, what is going on here? But clearly there was some kind of disconnect that happened over the summer. And one would have to imagine it came to when he was trying to sign a deal and do everything else that he was trying to do. But the on court is what Dunny. I've seen you've been tweeting about it. It's been my first thought too. First of all, putting it back with Russell Westbrook. I know Russ isn't the first top guy on this team, but it doesn't make any sense to me chemistry wise. And second of all, Kawhi and Paul George are like two of the most ball dominant players in the NBA.
And Paul George is playing out of his mind.
And Paul George's Pumpkin P is out here killing it, man.
Also, he is at this point in their careers, and Kawhi's been this way his whole career. I don't know if I can say the same thing about George, but they're both no nonsense guys for the most part. I don't know how excited those two guys are when they see that Woj bomb when they wake up. That happened at 2 a.m. Is Kawhi Leonard excited to share the court with James Harden? After everyone just watched the way the summer went down with the Philadelphia 76ers, and he did the same thing to the Brooklyn Nets right before that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't imagine there's excitement from the other stars there. Jake, you nailed it. I'm almost certain there's not real excitement from Westbrook. I'm sure these guys are friends.
That's why the Terrence Mann video was so hilarious. Because So James dapping up Russ because they know that that's what everybody's talking about. Like, how the fuck are these? And okay, you guys can dap up in front of a camera. I would love to hear what Russell Westbrook actually thinks about this move, especially when it's crazy. It's crazy. It's a crazy chemistry experience for sure. Or experiment for sure.
It's strange, man. I would get it, say this was say this happened in the middle of November instead of, or even the end of November, another month later, and the Clippers aren't looking that great. Completely get it. I just think they've looked really, really, really good from what I've seen from them. Westbrook, we have stood by his side, the three of us, and we recognize he's had some down years. But we didn't think it was a decline. You can see the athleticism still there. There was just something off. He came out and said it. He didn't like playing in Los Angeles with the Lakers because he felt unwanted.
Who can blame him for that?
And you could kind of tell it was a bad situation. Now all of a sudden he has his head right. He's comfortable in the situation. He's honed in. He was there to end last season. He had some big games. He's strung together an amazing stretch of games to start the season with the Clippers. And what do? You bring in a guy who's going to have the ball in his hands pretty much the whole game when he's in.
Well, and that's the problem. That's why it didn't work for the Lakers with Russ, because you couldn't play him on the court at the same time as LeBron at the end of games, because everyone was like, we'll have LeBron run the offense. Russell Westbrook is great at running an offense late games. He's done that his entire career, and that's what's helped Paul George and Kawhi, because then so much pressure taken off them, right? They could just kind of get to their spots, get their own shot. Now you got James Harden, and I'm not going to say anything negative about James Harden's playmaking ability, because that's, I think, the one big thing he still really has, is he does have that playmaking. But I feel like it's almost you're adding a guy to your starting lineup, and now you're just taking what Russ does and really limiting it. Because I don't think Russ is an off-ball type of player. I don't think any of us do. And we love Westbrook, but that's not best suited for his game. And I don't think Harden is going to be the type of guy who's going to be the guy who will play off-ball. He's going to want to run that offense and have it go through him. And I don't think that really helps, because we've seen the Clippers, even early stretches this year, whoever's the hot guy, you're taking the ball up, you're getting to your spot, and we're making sure you get the shot you want. We saw Kawhi get hot in the first half last night, and they're like, all right, the offense is going through Kawhi. We saw Paul George do it multiple times this year, where it's like Paul George is just not missing right now, offense going through him. Russell Westbrook, okay, Russ is playing pretty well, but now offense going through him. I don't know if that continues when you have James Harden, because I don't think he's going to be on the court if he's not the guy facilitating the offense. And I think that's a problem.
Yeah. Harden's so polarizing for so many different reasons. Like this is the nicest thing I'll say about James Harden. And Steve, like, you nailed it. Like, no one's taking away from the ability that this guy has. No one's taking away the amazing things we saw him do in Houston, where he looked untouchable. And there was the comparisons to Kobe Bryant being thrown around for that few year stretch, the MVPs, all of that. He has it. He's an incredible player. He's a Hall of Famer. But James Harden, the player, will go down in history as the strangest player ever, because we've never seen a player who has been so good with such little success in the playoffs, such bad chemistry with almost all of his teammates, and the amount of Hall of Famers he's played with and can't make it to the next level in the playoffs. Like, it's truly incredible. And to think that we're just obligated to keep giving this guy a break is insane.
You guys, 8 minutes ago, there's a nice comment from James Harden in his press conference. Boy. I have not listened to this yet. I just see the one quote from Malika Andrews. I'm going to play it over for us. We can give our live reaction, because the one comment that Malika Andrews put, I'm laughing at already. So I really want to hear this whole thing. It is 45 seconds long.
Let's hear it.
I don't think when I'm in a leash, I'm not in just shooting the basketball every time. I'm in I think the game, and I'm a creator on the court. You know what I mean? So if I got a voice to where I can, hey, coach, I see this. You know, what you think about this? Then it's like, oh, okay. There's somebody that trusts me, that believes in me, that understands me, that I'm just not I'm not a system player. I am a system. You know what I mean? So somebody that can have that dialogue with me and understand and move forward and figure out and make adjustments on the fly throughout the course of games. That's all I really care about. It's not about me scoring the basketball, scoring 34 points. I've done it already. So that's what I meant.
That was it. I'm not a system basketball player. I am a system.
Well, your system hasn't won shit. Let's be real. You call yourself a system. It's a bad system.
It's a bad system when that system shuts down in Game 7 of every single playoff series you're ever in. The system should work in Game 7, I feel like.
You can't call yourself a system if that's the success trail.
Imagine Kawhi, the robot himself. I'd rather run that system.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Dunny,
you're muted. Dunny's so upset he muted.
Yeah. I muted so there's no overlay over the audio, but no, how do you think those other 3 all-star Hall of Famers feel, man? It's like they had a good system going. The Clippers look great right now.
I like the Paul George system of 28 points a game. Yeah. That's a pretty good damn system too. Yeah.
He told us he was going to be on his bully shit this year, and Paul George has delivered. Let's see if Harden can deliver with his system, whatever that may be.
How wild that this podcast has turned to defending Paul George.
Oh, I know.
We have come so far.
I love watching Paul George now. I love watching Paul George. It's tough. And also, too, and I know this is a very minor problem compared to the whole thing, but Bones Highland was playing good, and now he's going to move to the bench again. And that's a young player. You want to develop those guys.
Their defense has been great to start the year. Man. What does that do? James Harden is not a good defender, and he's not getting better at 33 years old.
He hasn't been a good defender in quite some time. Yeah. And even when he was at his peak, it was mostly just steals in the passing lane.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't it's hard to do this and not rag on James Harden, but he makes it so damn hard with the comments and the way he's left franchise. I don't know. It's almost like he's not searching for a better opportunity when he leaves teams at this rate. It's just an escape from his reality because you wanted more. You were playing with the MVP of the league last year with an up and coming star by your side in Tyrese Maxey, and that still wasn't enough for you. So I don't know, man. Let's see how the Clippers work out. Honestly, for Clippers fans, for Kawhi, for Paul George, for Russ, I kind of hope it works out, but I think this makes them less of a contender because James Harden just simply has not got far in the playoffs. The rest of these guys have.
You're right.
So I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm sure there'll be another.
They might have they might have more regular season success because they can now load manage all they want and still have superstars playing every game. Yep. But when it comes down to a late game in the playoffs, and we've seen what James Harden does. We've seen what can happen to Paul George, and if Kawhi is not healthy, which he has not been for the last 3 postseasons, like even when he's been out there, he's been hampered by something. It's asking a lot of, and you throw Russ in there. It's 4 guys over 30. Paul maybe still in his prime, but everybody else probably a little past it. Even Kawhi, who has been a monster, definitely past his prime, definitely past his physical prime. It's when you look at these things years later, think about the Lakers team in 2004. When they add Gary Payton, they add all these old guys. And this is teams who won 3 titles. They're talking about a Clippers team they made 1 Western Conference Finals with this group. That team fell apart because you can't just put a bunch of old stars together and expect it to work, especially when the old stars still think that they're a fucking system on their own.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that pisses me off about that quote more than anything is clearly there's still a lack of perspective from Harden. Harden needs to be the 3rd best player on this team, and he thinks he's coming in and going to be the best player. And that's just maybe all time when we look back on the list, we're going to be like James Harden had a greater legacy than Kawhi Leonard and Paul George and Russell Westbrook. Maybe can have that argument. Somebody will. I won't. But
he's not a better winner than those guys. He's not a better winner than those guys. The only other I thought of another example of what you were just talking about, Jake, though, Brooklyn Nets, KG, Pierce, Darren Williams, Jason Terry. Didn't work, man. Yep. So it sucks. Another star-studded team that we actually haven't seen the big 3 yet, the Phoenix Suns. That's our next note here. It's just we haven't seen the big 3. It kind of sucks. I didn't even really know that Book and Beal. I don't think many did. It seemed like they were kind of keeping it under wraps. I mean, we knew going into the opener that those 2 guys were banged up. And Book played in the opener,
Yeah,
though,
Book
right?
played
It was
the
just
first game, though. Yeah.
yeah. So that must have happened then. Beal has some sort of nagging injury, and it just sucks. It also sucks for someone who was high on Frank Vogel maybe winning Coach of the Year because the Suns haven't looked right. Obviously the KD Wemby, we get that the second round of that tonight. Steve, you
What a
alluded
game.
to it. The game the other night was awesome. If anyone can score on Wemby, it's KD, and he showed that. And so that was cool. But it does suck. I mean, we just the Suns are still a question mark. We have no doubt they're going to be good when this big three gets back together. But it's something to keep an eye on. And we'll try to get through the news and notes quickly here, just because we got some surprise teams to get to.
Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox with the injury.
Well, the one thing about the Suns before we go on, though, because I mentioned it yesterday, I truly think the Suns, the Cavs, there's probably other teams that this happening with, but I think this is the two biggest examples. I really think that they are we talked about it before the season. How are teams going to try to find the loopholes in these rest rules and everything else? I truly think that Beal and Booker could be playing and that they're just resting them because they can't load manage them throughout the year. So they're like, fuck it, we'll just take the first month and make it another preseason. And I think the Cavs are doing the same thing. Darius Garland, hamstring injury, popped up right before opening night, hasn't played yet. Jared Allen hasn't played yet. I think he was a little more banged up, but still, it's like I think these teams are using this early season. They're like, whatever, we'll go 3-9 to start the season, but as long as we can get our rest, like none of these teams are going to want.
Because Booker played the first game. That's weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
It is weird, but if it still could be,
maybe that's part of
the
ploy. Yeah, like he got this weird little ankle injury. He did play in the first game, and now he tweaked his ankle, and he has to sit for 3 games.
Or there is an ankle, but it's something that he could work through, and they're just like, well, we have, because you can't load you have to be so particular with it. So if you say it's serious and they have to sit out for an extended time, the league can't come in and fine you and say you're fucking around with the load management thing. And so I think that we're going to see this case throughout the year. I think guys are going to end up just, instead of sitting one night and playing again, they're just going to take weeks off. It's going to be like, oh, Jimmy Butler has a sprained knee, he's out for 2 weeks, and that's just a load managed Jimmy Butler 2 weeks. Like I'm really following how these teams are going to try to take advantage of that. And I think the Suns, I don't know about the Cavs as much. I do think the Cavs are doing it a little bit, but the Suns specifically, I think, are taking advantage of this because they're an old team and they need those stars to be healthy.
Fair.
And like I said when I first brought them up, we didn't really hear anything about the Bradley Beal injury. I mean, we knew he was questionable going into opening night, but then it didn't seem to be serious. All of a sudden now he's missed all of their games. Book only played in the one. Yeah, it's a good point. And I mean, I guess good for them if the teams are figuring out a way to do this. It does suck that it's happening this early if that is the case, but hey man, it's a crazy league. Only one team wins.
Joel was about to sit until the Philly bullied him. Yeah, he was about to sit the home opener, and the fans bullied him, and he was like, "All right, I'll play." So
I know that is nuts. Something to follow for sure. That's a good point. Mavs Celtics. Do we want to keep these for the surprise teams or just dive right into it now?
I mean,
the Celtics ain't a
surprise team.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics are just a maggot.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
So putting up 155 is a little bit of a surprise.
I mean, has Tatum played a fourth quarter yet? Has he needed to play a fourth quarter yet this season?
Talking about load managing.
He probably the Knicks, right?
He did against the Knicks. He did against the Heat. And then who was the first game? Why am I blanking on who they played the first game?
First game opening night for the Celtics? The Knicks.
Oh, that was the Knicks. Oh, Wizards. I was thinking Wizards. So he played Wizards, Heat, Knicks. He played the fourth quarter. The last 2 games, he has not had to. That goes for the rest of the starters as well.
Absurd.
Yeah, man. The Celtics are somehow exceeding my expectations, which were pretty goddamn high if you're a listener, or if you're Steve or Jake, you knew that. It's incredible, man. I'm sure Steve's feeling something similar with the Mavs, but Kristaps Porzingis came out today and said it's great right now, but we can be much better, which is the scariest thing I've ever heard if this team gets much better, because they put up the most points scored in like some 60 odd years in the NBA, or the 2 teams combined put up the like most points scored in an NBA game in like 60 years. The third highest team total from the Celtics ever, dating back to 1959, I think it was. So the team hasn't scored like this in forever. They're like first in all of these offensive categories. The defense, the only reason their defense is not top tier is because they haven't played their starters in the fourth quarter. So
it doesn't matter.
The other teams are coming back a little bit. I mean, I say coming back. They won by 50 last night. It's insane. And the best part to me is that Jaylen Brown shot 4 of 11 in game one, very underwhelming. All of a sudden against the Miami Heat in the home opener, he explodes in the fourth quarter. He has 27. Tatum has multiple 30-point games already. Kristaps has a 30-point game. Drew Holiday can do anything he wants. I'm so excited about Drew Holiday. It just someone I really want to give credit to is Brad Stevens, because that dude saw the vision, man. He put these puzzle pieces together, and this is the most fluent. We've seen some fantastic Celtics teams in the last 3-4 years. This is the most fluent it has looked by far, and it is so fun, man. I'm having a blast watching these games.
Bald Derek White's pretty good too, huh?
God, how did I not bring up Derek White?
He's been unbelievable. Dude.
Derek White's never been this open in his life, even like in the driveway. He's never been this open.
But who else
exactly?
And that's the thing. Who do you guard, right? Well, we're gonna get to the point, right? When these games, when the Celtics aren't up 40 going into the fourth quarter in most games, when they play big games and they run this. I said this at the start of the year. This starting five or this 5-man line, if you can play at the end of the stretch, no team in the NBA can match up against them right now. Who do you guard? Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Derek White. Who is guard? Who do you leave open? They can all score 30 a night if they really wanted to. That's terrifying. And when I say what makes that so terrifying is that any of them can really get whatever shot they want. They can score on the inside. They can score on the outside. But we're also talking about 5 of the best defenders as well. Yeah. We're talking about a historically good offense, a historically balanced offense that anyone who, like, you can't double anyone because just someone else is going to step up and go off, who also happen to be 5 of the best defenders in the NBA. It is wild. It's I honestly, Donnie, as a Celtics fan, you must be in heaven right now, in absolute awe, because I'm watching these games and I'm like, there's just the Celtics, like, they don't have to play their starters after third quarter because they're just dominated. With the last like 2-3 Celtics games, they're up 15 before halfway through the first.
And you want to talk about guys who can knock down shots and play defense? Al Horford is our 6th man. And I know people are going to poo-poo that and be like, all right, cool, you have 37-year-old Al Horford coming off your bench. Yeah, that is pretty cool, man. Because as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the only players who's been able to stop Giannis the last 4 years in the playoffs. He comes off the bench. He's who in the NBA has a center that good coming off their bench? No one. No one does. And he stretches the floor like little other big men can. And I just did the math real quick. You guys want to take a guess what the starting 5 is averaging for points per game?
No, I'm gonna be disgusted.
101.
I'm gonna go higher. Oh, no,
it was
15 from White, 30 Tatum, 25 Brown. I go like maybe a little lower, 98.
97 points per game just from the starting 5.
Ooh, that's disgusting. That's actually vile. And
the Cavs scored like 93 points total last night in a win.
This is 98 a game, where in 50% of the Celtics games this year, they didn't play a quarter.
Yeah.
They didn't play the fourth. That's disgusting. That's like half the games this year, they didn't play the fourth quarter. They're almost averaging 100. So through 3 quarters of set, so you call it 3.5, sure, whatever. I don't even care.
Yeah.
They're averaging close to 100 points a game. And this is, like I said, what makes it so scary is these 5 guys are also great defenders.
Yeah. It's truly amazing to see, man. Like, you look down at your phone during a game, you look up and just someone else is making a highlight play. And not only you guys mentioned it, like, not only are these guys getting open threes for each other, like every other trip up the court, someone has an open dunk. Like, it's just it's just that easy for them right now. It's incredible. Steve, let's roll over to your Mavericks.
Oh, Luka MVP season has started, baby. Luka MVP season has started. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets game, I've never seen someone at the end of a game do what Luka did there, where he just said, we're just going to win this game. Just hit threes. Did not matter that the boneheaded coaching decisions Jason Kidd made. I'll get to him later. But Luka has been unbelievable. He's averaging, I think, 34, pretty much a triple-double with 34 points a game. And they got new pieces that just – they're working, right? Grant Williams and Derek Jones have been good. They have been good. And then let's talk about the rookie. The Mavs finally found a center in Derek Lively. And Jason Kidd, you want to bench him because, we're going to play small ball against the Brooklyn Nets, and then Luka has to will you back into existence. Whatever, Jason Kidd, whatever excuse you want to make, go ahead. Because you should be playing this guy, or they're those bums, Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell, because Derek Lively is great. He is good inside for them. He can play make a little bit as a center too. I think he had 6 assists or something last night. He gives you that kind of verticality you need, which is huge when you have a playmaker like Luka. And he's a good defender too. I love the way this team looks. You got Tim Hardaway, who is really just bought into his coming off the bench 6-man. We're going to be that scorer type Jordan Clarkson role, averaging over 20 a game. I really like this team. They can mix and match guys. You see Josh Green and Jaden Hardy, the young guys, getting some work in. And this is the first time, really, I feel like, since Luka came into the league that I am happy with the roster the Mavs put together. And Kyrie Irving, in the 2 games he's played well. He played objectively well. Like, I got nothing against this team. I think once we see, Kyrie fully going with this team, I think it's really going to click because I really think that offseason helped. Luka is the guy there, obviously. Kyrie is obviously going to be the number 2. But they got the role guys you need. Yeah. Derek Jones and Grant Williams have been huge additions.
Grant Williams, bro.
Grant Williams, he had 7 threes last night. He plays good defense. Oh.
Can I give you guys a Grant Williams stat?
Please do. Please do.
This is insane. And not a word of a lie, I started to make a list like this at work today, but I just couldn't get to as many names as I wanted to, and it was kind of getting difficult to crunch the numbers while I was at work. Grant Williams this season has made more 3-pointers than Dame, Clay, Zach LaVine, Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Maxey, Buddy Hield, CJ McCollum, Michael Porter Jr., Jason Tatum, LeBron James, Jamal Murray, Anthony Edwards, and Fred VanVleet, and is shooting 55.2% from deep.
He's been so good. He's just kind of bought in that. He just sits in the corner. Luka's going to draw the double pretty much every time. Kick it out to him. He's making his shots. You know who wasn't doing that? When you have guys like Maxi Kleber out there. When you have guys like Dorian Finney-Smith who were chalking up bricks. Don't even get me started on Reggie Bullock last year. They replaced them with guys who are actually making the open shots. What makes it so hard, they hit 22 or something threes the other night. Also, too, the big difference from the Mavs last year to this year, we look at the Mavs last year, what was their biggest downfall? Any close game, they crumbled in the 4th quarter. They didn't really know how to run it through the offense. Luka would get doubled. They didn't really know what they were doing. This year, I think statistically so far, they've been the best 4th quarter team, and they've been the best team inside the final, I believe, 5 minutes of the 4th quarter this year. The Mavs, they have just found ways to win games, and it's crazy because it's the first time, watching it where I'm like, they're making the right decisions. I like the lineup they're going with at the end of the games. And obviously Luka will have his Luka magic. They had no business winning the Brooklyn Nets game. No business whatsoever. He made 4 threes in the final 2 minutes. One was a one-hander to the side while he was getting doubled that he banked in. But you get that when you have a guy like Luka, those plays are going to happen, but it's just the players around Luka. We all knew what Luka was going to do. We all know Kyrie is very good when he's on the court, but the fact that the Mavs are 4-0 with Kyrie missing 2 games because these other guys are stepping up and they're buying into what their roles are for the team. It feels like those old Mavs teams when you had Dirk and you had a bunch of other guys that, aren't the biggest names, but they're buying into their roles and it's just working together. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but that makes me very, very excited. It makes me very, very excited for this season because it's the first time I feel like they have built a good team around Luka, or a team that works around Luka, I should say.
No, I feel you. There's reason to be excited. Before we go on to anything else, we got comments here. and
Oh,
it's
boy.
the team that our guy the Mavs played the Bulls last night.
Oh,
Bulls
yeah.
played them tough. It was
They
a good
did.
matchup. And our guy JVC says the Bulls
Shout
are
out
taking
JVC.
down the Celtics in the East. That's how good Bulls fans are feeling. As we shift into the surprise teams.
What was it,
Bulls
Happy
are
Hour
the-
Hoops comedy night? What's going
JBC's
on
the
here?
go. Nah, JBC's the go. He can say whatever he wants.
But there is reason for Bulls fans to be excited right now.
For
They
sure,
are not on
man.
my list, but they are looking way better than I thought they were going to look to start this year,
Than
especially
everyone did.
defensively. Especially defensively, that's really been their anchor. Levine might be on the move though. That's the talk about the Philly trade. They're looking at Levine. They're circling around there, but yeah, let's you guys ready to go into surprise teams, Donnie?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get into these surprise teams.
I think we call the Mavs a surprise team. I think we
Yeah.
to a point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I
think it's
had 'em
fair. They're
here.
one of the surprise teams.
I have them, and then our other one that we have at the top of the list here, it's really not a surprise to us, and it's tough to do this the night after they lose by 50 to the Celtics. But I will say, and they were saying it the whole broadcast as well, and this is a Boston broadcast with Brian Scalabrine, so like a very biased broadcast. Pacers played good, man. I think they ended the game shooting like 48% from the field. That's not bad.
No.
And they were fighting, and they didn't have Halliburton. So like,
That's the big one there. The Pacers with Halliburton, without Halliburton are two different.
yeah, they don't lose. They still lose last night. They don't lose by 50.
No one beats the Celtics last night.
Nope.
But yeah, the Pacers are a surprise team. Not for us, but they should be on people's radar. One of my bold predictions this year was that they're a top 6 team in the East. We're all super high on them. Even guys like Aaron Nesmith, who the Celtics let walk, they paid him. He's had a huge game for them already this year. Ben Mathurin, one of Steve's favorite guys. Yeah, he's finally starting. Miles Turner, who just never gets enough love, man. This guy is so good on the block. He stretches the floor. Anytime he's healthy, he's averaging 2 blocks a game. I really love this Pacers team, man. They're well coached. They have good bench.
I'm not going to disagree. You know how much I love the Pacers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably the second team I root for after the Mavs because I love Mathurin. I love Halliburton. Halliburton, outside of I don't know, maybe 2-3 players in the NBA, Halliburton's my favorite player to watch. And I know I said this when we were talking about the preview of the Central with the Pacers, that Halliburton could make that leap SGA made, where he could be a first team All-NBA because of what he can do. Halliburton sees things on an NBA court that other players just don't see. If you watch full Pacers games, and this is why I said, like, obviously they were still going to lose to the Celtics last night, but the Pacers with Halliburton is different than the Pacers without, because Tyrese Halliburton, I will say this right now, I think he's the best pure point guard in the NBA. I truly believe it right now.
Wow.
Just the way he sees the court, the way he sets guys up. And we're talking about a team that I think is ahead of schedule, that I said it was last year with these guys. And now Jalen Smith's starting to play better. People thought he was a bust when he was drafted by Phoenix. Now he's starting to play better. Naismith, once again, he's starting to play better. Ben Mathurin looks great in the starting lineup. Bruce Brown, I mean, this is a good team around, I think, the best playmaker in the NBA. And all they got to figure out right now is the defense, because I still think they're ranked 29th defensive right now, which, you know, when you give up 155 to the Celtics, that probably inflates it a little bit through 4 games. But regardless, they still do have to work on defense. Ben Mathurin was actually benched at the end of one of the games because of his lack of effort on the defensive side. And you can't have that, right? You can't have your probably best offensive weapon or second best offensive weapon get benched because of lack of effort on defense. That will come with, you know, time and, you know, playing more together. But overall, like, I think they're ahead of schedule. I really do believe they're a legitimate, like, good team in the East. And this is a team that's probably going to safely be in the playoffs.
Yeah. And ultimately their pace too is just going to cause their defensive numbers to fall, because they are just played so fast. And so that's just going to hurt, especially in games like a team like Boston who can take advantage of that on misses and everything else. But yeah, the Pacers, very high on them. And especially with the way the rest of, like, it's really Boston and everybody else. And like, my team to jump into it is the Bucks in a bad way.
Yeah.
Because, man, I'm so glad that we all picked the Celtics for our finals picks, because if I would have picked the Bucks, I know Dunny was going to pick the Celtics. If you would have picked the Bucks, Steve, we would be feeling so dumb right now. But this team like Middleton got sat to start the second half yesterday against and he has been a problem. And Dame has been a huge problem defensively, which we knew it would be an issue, but he's not making up for it enough. He had 6 points the other night too.
Like those an issue offensively.
Yeah.
Outside of that explosion game, he has not been a efficient offensive player.
Not
for
at
this
all.
group.
And Giannis, Giannis is playing so passive too. You watch Bucks games,
He said
and
it's
it's like,
Dame's
dude,
team.
you're Giannis. You are Giannis. You are a 6'11" freak. You are called the Greek freak for a reason. Go to the rim. What are we doing here?
Steve's like Elastigirl right now, yelling at me. This is incredible.
No, seriously, it's unbelievable.
He's Edna Mode.
Yeah.
Elastigirl.
It's like, what are you doing?
Elastigirl.
You are Giannis. No, but you are Giannis. Like, what are we doing here? You can take over games too. Just because you brought in another superstar, who, by the way, like we said, has kind of disappeared after the first game, doesn't mean you need to take a passive role. If you're like, you are Giannis. We're talking about a two-time MVP, NBA champion. We're talking about one of the biggest mismatches in NBA history. How do you guard this guy with his athleticism and his size? And he's just passing it and just kind of standing there. It's like, what are you doing? I don't understand. I don't get it.
We could talk about these two teams twofold, I think, because the Miami Heat, we'll save the Grizzlies for next week, but Grizzlies 0-5 sucks, man.
You got to tread water before John. You're not trying.
But how crazy about it that last year the whole narrative
they're missing Steven Adams.
That's true too. That definitely hurt them a lot. But how crazy the narrative, they were so good last year without John. Right. It's just like, the thing is, the margins are so slim. Like, you can't count on them.
Yeah, right.
It's a real competitive league, man. So I'm sure we'll touch on the Grizzlies more next week. But Bucks, Heat, both part of the surprise teams. And let me just paint this picture for you guys. Maybe Pat Riley was just dead nuts on this. Maybe he was exacto on this, because the only bright spot of the Miami Heat thus far has been Tyler Hero. He has been unbelievable. He's been unbelievable. Dame has been a huge disappointment, and they're 30th. The Bucks, that is, they're 30th in defensive rating as of this morning.
Crazy.
So Drew Holiday turns out means a lot to your defensive identity. Damian Lillard gives you no defensive identity. And here are both these teams, which the Heat probably feel a little better about it, but the Heat, they have one win. They have one win, and Jimmy hasn't looked good. Bam looked pretty impressive. I was able to watch him in person at the Celtics home opener, Heat Celtics. Bam and Tyler Hero both looked really good. Other than that, man, it's kind of a frightening looking team, if you ask me. And I'm not victory lapping yet. I said last week that this is the year they fall off. I know it's so early, so I'm not saying anything yet, but they do only have one win.
You know me, Dunny. I'm just gonna go down with the ship. I won't say anything negative about the Heat until that ship sinks, because I've learned my lesson. You're right. We also got to remember too, right? We're talking about all these teams, guys. We're 4 or 5 games into the NBA season. A lot can change, but this is just reactions from the the first week. And you're right, Tony. I mean, it's just, and you know what? I guess maybe too. Maybe not the Heat necessarily, but with the Bucks, maybe give them a little leadway, because it's like you did bring in a new player, a superstar. Yeah. Maybe that changes up things with the Memphis Grizzlies, right? Marcus Smart is starting right now. Maybe people just got to get used to playing together, gelling together, stuff like that. But I don't know. Right now with the Bucks, I think it's a little concern. Brook Lopez, does he have 1 block on the year?
Yeah.
We're talking about a guy who was a defensive player of the year conversation last year.
That was your rim protector for the last 2 seasons, and he looks his age. That's
he looks like it finally caught up to him.
Yeah,
I was playing the drop and add game with him in fantasy, and I will not be picking up Brook Lopez anytime soon again.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, you don't need that on your squad. I guess that's it, man. Those teams are really disappointing. I guess while we're talking about the Bucks, the one thing I did say I wanted to get off my chest, and we are going to lose Jake in a minute here, but me and Steve are going to finish out the ep and do the draft we were talking about. But Jake, I want you to hear this because
Yes, yes, sir.
I know you saw this quote. Jay Williams on ESPN national TV sat at that desk after one game of the NBA season. This is the game where I told you Jaylen Brown shot 4 of 11, mind you.
Mhm.
The Bucks and Celtics had both played one game. Jay Williams said that already doesn't matter about the 4 Eastern Conference Finals, doesn't matter about the finals trip. Already, he said, Dame and Giannis are a better duo than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And he just gets more and more wrong every day as this season goes on, and I love it. So this is a message to you, Jay Williams. Why don't you just work? You know what? You can hype up the Bucks all you want. Keep doing it, actually.
Go for it.
But just don't worry about the Jays, man. We're all right over here in Boston. He is a Jay himself, so that's ironic. But
it makes no sense. Everyone always wants to be worried about the Jays, except Celtics fans. And it's like, dude, they're good. Just let them be. Let them be. Like what?
People want to
it's so
pick apart the
annoying.
Celtics team, man, and it doesn't
Why?
make sense.
Because they haven't won it. And
delivering.
My buddy argued with me yesterday. He tried to call the Celtics the 2010s Sharks because they just choke. They never get there. They're not good in clutch moments. And I go, dude, like the Celtics were ahead of their schedule. They were ahead of their time.
Yeah.
This was a young team that just had deep playoff runs.
They took LeBron to
Eastern
game 7, man.
Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the past 4 years. Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the past 4 years. NBA Finals 2 years ago, where they lose to one of the greatest dynasties that we've ever seen.
And that's
Yeah.
hard to
They
call
take
that a choke.
LeBron
That was
to
just
7?
That was magnum opus Steph Curry. That's
All it
that
takes,
was.
it just takes one Celtics championship, and all these people want to shut up. And they're gonna be like, "Oh shit, this might be a dynasty."
And then there's gonna
Like,
be
I don't
one, and then they're gonna
understand.
realize 4 more could be coming down the pipe. That's the
It drives
thing.
me nuts. It
No
just
one
drives
wants
me
that from
nuts.
the Celtics. I think it's like it's manifestation the opposite way of Celtics fans. Like we
I get
cannot
it.
allow this, but it's right. You're right, because like, and the thing about this, like, whatever, you don't like the Celtics just because they're the Celtics, that's one thing. But this Celtics team has been like one of the most fun basketball teams the last 6 years to watch every night too. It's not like they're like literally watching Tatum and Brown together has been one of the most joy I've had watching basketball, just from purely on court play for years. Like if you're not doing that, Steve does
Think of everything they had to go through too, right? You had the whole coaching thing. You had the Kyrie Irving situation. All this stuff that the Celtics had to go through, and they just consistently win. They haven't won a ship yet. Fine.
Yeah,
All right.
so-
They haven't won a ship yet. If the Celtics don't win a ship in the next 10 years, then come talk to me. Then come talk to me on how this team is a disappointment and they aren't clutch. They never achieved, what they should do. We're talking about a team that was ahead of schedule 3-4 years ago. They are in do people not realize Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are in their prime? They're not past it. They're not going.
Yeah.
They're going
Tatum-
right into it. They're
Tatum
going.
debatably is not
entering
even
it.
there yet.
No, they're
Yeah.
entering their prime.
Yeah.
Your 2 best players are entering their prime. This is the best team they've had around them, I think, since the Tatum era has really started. And
the only one you could argue is the one that we didn't get to see with Hayward and Kyrie.
exactly, yeah,
That's the only one you can
exactly.
argue. Last
And
year,
it's
this I've only seen 4 games. This team blows last year's team out of the water. I'm sorry.
Blows it out of the water.
The last thing I'll say about it, and you alluded to it, because yes, they haven't won a championship, but only one team can win the championship every year.
Right.
Are we gonna say these teams that win every single year and are in the playoffs every single year, are we gonna just say that's not success? Is winning just not successful anymore? Because that seems to be the knock, is people think that the Celtics aren't successful. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are more successful than 95% of the rest of the league. Only one team can win it every year. The people who have the rings, the LeBrons, the Jokic, the Giannis, the Stephs, no one's arguing that Jalen and Jason have passed those guys. Of course not. But they're more successful than everyone else in the NBA. Of course, I probably just missed a few names.
But
there,
Dunny,
you get what I'm saying.
You bring up Jokic and the Nuggets. The Nuggets, people were saying this about the Nuggets until last year when they won. And it's so funny how a tune can change. Jokic was like, oh, you can't win Jokic. He doesn't play defense. No, he's not one of the best players in the NBA. This guy's just a stat pattern. Then the Nuggets have the playoff run they do, win the championship. Now people are talking about, is Jokic a top 10 all time? Is
Yeah.
Jokic one of the best we'll ever see? Are the Nuggets a dynasty waiting to happen? So that's what I'm saying. All it takes is the Celtics to win one championship and the whole tune changes on them. But it's because they're a Boston team, because they're the Celtics, where everyone wants to try to knock this team down instead of be like, what could be? And it's crazy to me as a non-biased basketball fan. I have no allegiance to Boston. I don't like the city of Boston.
Yeah, we got to get you in the TD Garden, man.
Yeah, I got no allegiance, but this is one of the most fun basketball teams I've watched 3-4 years that only continues to get better with two of we're going to talk about this duo of Brown and Tatum as one of the most dominant duos consistently. I mean, we're talking about a team that's gone to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the past 4 years. They go to the NBA Finals and lose to Curry and Clay's Warriors. Okay, sorry. You lost to the Warriors also beat a few other teams. They have a few championships, but it's crazy to me where people are trying to knock this team down when it's like, dude, this is a team that's gone to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the 4 years. Look at the age of this team compared to the other superstar teams right now. One team's going up, a lot of other teams are going down right now. And like, what are we blaming a team because they were ahead of schedule? Would you rather have the Celtics be a first-round exit and be like, oh, they just haven't reached their peak, their potential? No.
Yeah.
Just get out here with that.
It's incredible, man. And last thing I'll say about it is everyone over the summer and to start, especially after game one. Oh, I loved the trolls after game one with Jaylen Brown saying he doesn't deserve the money. Mm-hmm. 2 games later, after, and mind you, the game in between, he had 27. It was the reason that they beat the Heat at home in their home opener. Just 2 games after that bad first game where people saying he didn't deserve the money, he scored 36 points in 3 quarters and hit 8 threes in 3 quarters, man. Yeah. There's 3 guys in the league who can do that. 3.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's like people want to just pick and choose what they see, right? All the Jaylen Brown haters, they won't say anything about that. They'll find one clip of him turning over the ball on a dribble and be like, oh, yeah, you see, he can't be a superstar. He can't be a number 2. It's just frustrating. And like I said, Donnie, like what speaks volumes about this Celtics team is you have potentially one of the best offensive teams we've ever seen. We're talking about 5 guys who are very good on defense and a team that half their games, the starters haven't played the fourth quarter. Half.
Yeah.
Half their games. Meanwhile, the Milwaukee Bucks lost by 20 plus to Toronto and Atlanta. So stop with all this. Stop with the comparison. I'm tired of the Celtics are the class of the East right now until proven otherwise. They have gone to the Eastern Conference Finals 3 of the past 4 years. They are dominating teams. They're not winning games. They're dominating.
The same reason that I don't want to crown the Celtics champions yet. I don't want to shit on the Bucks too much, but you mentioned that loss to the Raptors. That's a team who all 3 of us were trying to avoid drafting in our total wins draft. We wanted nothing to do with the Raptors. They have a brand new head coach, and Pat Bev went on his podcast the other day and just out in the open on his podcast on the airwaves, national media said that the Toronto Raptors as a whole were soft, and that team just beat the Milwaukee Bucks by nearly 20, and it's crazy, man.
And I know Milwaukee is going to wake up. I'm not here saying Milwaukee's a bad team. No. We know Damian Lillard's going to have his moments.
Still going to be a top
Giannis
3 seed.
There's going to be a point where Giannis is like, all right, I'm just going to start taking over games. It's going to happen.
You should probably do that starting tomorrow.
Yeah, probably should. He probably should realize you're Giannis. You're potentially the best basketball player in the world. You should probably not be so passive. But at the same time, too, Dunny, like you can't right now look through 4 games in the NBA season and try to tell me the Milwaukee Bucks are set up for more success than the Boston Celtics. I won't listen. I won't hear it.
I don't.
But don't worry,
Dunny. That either.
Celtics lose 1 game, they're all going to come out again. They're all going to come. They're all going to come back out again.
I will say, let's play a fun little game. When will the Celtics' first loss be? I'll read you their schedule.
Okay, yeah, let's go.
Just allow me to pull this up. Okay, so up and coming this Saturday, Brooklyn Nets.
Nah, they're not losing that game.
All right, Monday, Timberwolves.
They're not losing Rudy Gobert.
November 8th, next Wednesday, Sixers. That's probably our biggest test.
Where is it? Boston or Philly?
Let's see. It's in Philly.
That's Philly's NBA Finals right there. I don't. Yeah. I'd never picked the Celtics to lose to Philly, but let me tell you, like if I saw the end of that game and Philly won, I wouldn't be shocked.
All right, yeah. So That could be a loss, but let me just rattle
Keep
off
going.
like the
Yeah,
next
keep going.
month because I'm not scared until, and I'm not that I'm scared, but I don't think I'm not worried about a loss until maybe November 22nd. So like I said, we have Nets, T-Wolves, Sixers,
Yeah.
Nets again, Raptors, Knicks again, Sixers again, Raptors again, Grizzlies, Hornets, and then on the 22nd, the Milwaukee Bucks. But then after that, the
Yeah.
Magic, Hawks, Bulls, Sixers. Wow, we played the Sixers 3 times
Yeah.
early. But like this schedule to start is bonkers. And it's not like it's football where you have an easy schedule. It means like you've got to play 82 games. But
Right.
it is just crazy to think about that we could be looking at a 12-0 team pretty
We
soon.
could. Yeah, and I think the only ones really maybe look out for in Philly, I think, because just Philly's just going to play up for that game like it's a playoff game.
Yeah.
Especially after Harden being traded too, Philly's out to prove something that they're still a legitimate team. And then the Knicks, I feel like the Knicks and Celtics always play good games. Is that just me? You watch more, but I always feel like they play tight.
They lost twice to the Knicks last year, and one was at home in overtime. I was there. The Knicks play the Celtics really hard.
So that could be the slip up, right? They beat Philly, and then a couple games later they lose to the Knicks.
Yep. Thankfully, we haven't seen any of like the collapsed fourth quarters this year that the Celtics were prone to in the past. But yeah, man, all good things ahead. It looks like wagon in the East right now.
Yeah.
Let's do this players draft, Steve. I wish Jake was still on with us.
I know.
He's being a grinder though. He's going to record the Pay the Bills podcast, which is their Trainwreck's football podcast about the Bills. So go check that out for our guy Jake if you like the NFL or if you're especially like the Bills. Me and Steve are going to hold down this draft though. NBA players draft, non-household names.
Yeah. So to be clear, before we get into this draft and get roasted probably in the TikTok comments of, you call this a non-household name? I know the 12th man on the Atlanta Hawks. We're talking about guys who aren't superstars yet, but they're guys who are making pretty good impacts on their team or have made impacts the past couple of years. These are guys to kind of look out for as maybe they are going into a breakout season, or maybe it's just a guy people just kind of slept on and they just put up numbers, or they're just someone who's good for a team. So before we get roasted, let me just put that out there, Donnie, that I get it. Like, the casual NBA fan may not know a lot of these names, or maybe they'll know the names, but not really know the player too well. But I'm not talking about a diehard who knows the rosters A to Z. If we did non-household names, Donnie, or names you and I didn't know, we're naming guys who aren't dressing most nights.
We're naming G League guys.
Yeah. so bear with us here. All right.
Yeah. All right. Steve,
all right. You start.
We're too friendly today. We're chumming it up too much about the Celtics, bro.
Yeah, I know. Stevie Boston is so back.
All right, so I really had to refresh my list a couple times because I had far too many Celtics and ex-Celtics players. But I'm starting with a Celtic, and it's Derek White, man, because he and I know he's teetering with household name now because
he is.
he is. I'm drafting him while I can in this type of draft. Derek White, man, he steals the ball from you. He blocks your shot if you're on a fast break. He'll give you 28 and 6 threes if he needs to, and he just does all the little things. He shaved his head. Derek White is my first pick in the non-household name draft.
All right, and since it's 2, I don't think we'll snake. We'll just alternate. I think that probably be better. If it's 3, we'll snake. 2, we'll just alternate. I'm gonna go with the first one here, Donnie. Because I think he can become a household name just based on the team he plays. I'm talking San Antonio Spurs. And no, I'm not talking the big man. I'm talking Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell
that's not even the second guy I thought you were going to say.
He is a bucket getter. I'll tell you what, because I think he emerges over Keldon Johnson this year. Devin Vassell, he missed part of last year due to injury, but he's improved in his points per game and his shooting percentages every year since his rookie year, I believe 4 years ago now. He started off, was coming off the bench like 5 points. Then he jumped to 12. Then he jumped to 18 last year and just, I think 30 games, didn't start all the games. He's a regular starter now. Wemby's going to get all the attention. Keldon Johnson's a great player, but if the San Antonio Spurs, and they're going to start getting closer in these games when they're getting more competitive, they're already, I think, overachieving the way they started this year, just the way they played in games. But when you need a bucket getter, Devin Vassell can get it. He can create off the dribble. He can drive, and he can, when he gets hot, Dunny, he can go lights out from three. Devin Vassell is a name that I don't think a lot of people, because like I said, I don't even know if he's the second guy in the Spurs right now after Wemby. I think you're right. It's probably Wemby, then Keldon.
Keldon, I would say so, but I agree, man. I don't think enough people know about him.
And I think Vassell's probably going to be a guy who right now he's averaging 20 a game. He can play make a little bit too, and we're going to, I think, see that more from him this year. But I would not be surprised if Vassell ended the year around like 23, 24 points a game. He is a bucket getter, man.
I love that, man. I love that pick. I didn't even I was trying to picture who might be on your list. Would not thinking of Vassell, but that's awesome. And I think you might be surprised by my pick here.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm going with Jalen Duren.
Dude, he was on my list. He was on my list. Yes, wow. Dude, unbelievable.
Wait, also, I need to get, is it Duren or Duran?
I believe it's, I think it's Duran, but
Jalen Duren.
Half commentators are allowed to pronounce it differently.
He is so damn good, man. I think he's 19 now, but 18 when he came into the league. He made strides immediately. He immediately beat out Isaiah Stewart for being I think the best big on the Detroit Pistons. I don't think it's a debate at this point.
No, he is the big, the go-to big on this team. Yes.
I don't know if I think this would shock a lot of people. It's early, but right now his season averages are 15.5 points, 13.3 rebounds, 70%, nearly 70% from the field, and 2 blocks to go along with that. I mean, he is just he's 6'10", 250. He's got the lanky frame. He's kind of like an old school center, really. He just runs basket to basket, up and down the floor. He can block shots. He rebounds. He's third right now in rebounds and out of the whole league.
Crazy.
This is a 19-year-old kid we're talking about. Yeah, so Jalen Duren, easy slide in for number 2 right there. That's crazy that we already had a snipe in the draft.
Yeah. And this is a guy, too, who, doesn't matter the matchup. He dominates the paint. Doesn't matter who he's matched up against. I'm curious to see when they play Philly or something, because I'm like, that's a big that might match up with Embiid a decent amount. It's crazy. Yeah. And like you said, Dunny, his age. We're talking a guy who's, 5 years from his prime?
Yeah. And he's alongside Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, man. You gotta love the talent there.
All right, next one here, and you can yell at me if you're like, oh, this is too popular of a name. Steve can't say it. I'm going Portland Trailblazers. I'm going Shaedon Sharpe.
That's great.
I'm going Shaedon Sharpe. I know, those flashy dunks. I
have a Trailblazer.
Some people get excited for this guy, but Shaedon Sharpe is, dude, he might be the go-to offensive option on this Portland Trailblazers team. And people are going to see it now more, especially with Simons out for a good amount of time. Shaedon Sharpe, he can throw it down. He can make those big dunks. But this is a guy who can shoot the ball well, too. He's averaging over 20 a game so far this year. He's been their go-to guy late in games. And the reason why, I love taking Shaedon Sharpe here is because, the guys who are non-household names who become household names pretty quickly are the guys who go from, he's a pretty good player to this guy's a star. You got to make my jaw drop. And Shaedon Sharpe does that, man.
Yeah.
And it feels like every night he's putting up 1 or 2 highlights where you're like, his athleticism it's crazy that I'm saying this, but he has Anthony Edwards type athleticism. He really does. The stuff that he can do. And Shaedon Sharpe is someone where I think more people need to realize how good this guy is, because I feel like maybe a little bit at the start, it was like, he can make a highlight reel play, but is he a good basketball player? Hey, we talk about a guy who used to be pretty good at dunking and turned into a good basketball player, Mr. Zach LaVine. Shaedon Sharpe, I think, is on that path where he can be that type of player. Shaedon Sharpe, he's not just a dunker. He's not just a guy who can put up a highlight here and there. He's a guy who can take over games and make your jaw drop when you're watching him. So much fun to watch, Shaedon Sharpe.
I love it, man. And Trista Crick, big NBA media personality. She's a Blazers fan. She tweeted out the other day, if Shaedon Sharpe just the best player on the Blazers right now, because
I think he might be.
He looks like it.
I think he might be.
He literally, that's not a crazy thing to say 4 or 5 games into the season.
Yep.
I think that's very fair. My next guy is a guy who I think the three of us like. I'm going Naz Reid.
Oh, great
And
pick.
of
Great
the
pick.
not the Portland, of the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yep.
He's kind of their backup big. I think he's started a few games this year. He's averaging 16 points. And we kind of saw him coming into his own last year. I mean, this is a guy who played at LSU, who, from what I remember, because I've followed him on Instagram since he's been at LSU, so I'd like to think I followed the player. He wasn't a shooter as far as I remember at LSU. He all of a sudden this last year developed this great 3-point shot. He was shooting 40% from deep before he got injured last year. He's a great complement to Towns, or he's great to step into Towns' place when Towns doesn't show up in big games, which we've seen from time to time. He has more of a fighting attitude than Towns. He's not the biggest big, only 6'9", but he plays a lot bigger than he is, long wingspan. I really, and he's shooting over 40. He's shooting 42% from three this year on 16 points a game. I just think my list, I'm trying to do guys that I like, and then also guys who are crushing it, and maybe a lot of people don't know about these guys. And I think Naz Reid fits all those categories.
I think Naz Reid's a great pick. My next one might be a little chalk here because I think he's starting to finally get noticed. But this is a guy, Dunny, you and I both love. We've been hyping up this guy since he came into the league. He has a name, but we call him Bucket and Happy Hour Hoops. It's Cam Thomas. It's Cam Thomas. All right. I know Cam Thomas. I know Cam Thomas had his 3 straight 40-point games, and people are like, who's this Cam Thomas guy? I know Cam Thomas was a bucket at LSU. I know Cam Thomas has started the year for the Brooklyn Nets averaging what? He was averaging over 33 points a game at one point. I think it went down a little bit, but still around 30 points a game. Dude, Cam Thomas is a bucket. Cam Thomas is a bucket, and this is the perfect piece that the Brooklyn Nets need, right? Cam Thomas is that type of guy where I said the only thing holding him back from last year, the only thing that was holding him back is that he was a liability defensively. And there's two things you could do to get more minutes on the floor. Is A, you have to get better defensively, or B, you have to give your coaching staff no other options. And his defense still has to come around a little bit, but you can't justify not playing this guy. 30-plus points in the first 3 games this season. He had 13 last night, kind of a down night, but he's averaging 28, and he's shooting everything. And what's scary about this guy is what his biggest weakness right now in his scoring ability is his 3-point shooting. But this is a guy who can shoot. So if it's a guy who can shoot's biggest weakness is his 3-point shooting, I'm feeling all right, Donnie. I'm feeling okay. He is relentless too. Does not matter his age, does not matter his size. He is always looking to attack. And if you want to be a guy who's a bucket getter, if you want to be a guy that people are going to notice, you have to be fearless. And Cam Thomas, he has no fear. He is never wanting to back down from the spotlight or back down from taking those big clutch shots. Dude, Cam Thomas is just a walking bucket, and I love watching
Cam Thomas, man. Ain't shit funny. He gave us one of the best quotes of last year, too. I tweeted out the other day from the Happy Hour Hoops account. He was 3rd in the NBA in points per game. A few games have been played since then. He dropped, but he's still in the top 10. He's still a game? Yeah, he's number 9 right now over Kevin Durant, Jokic, Hero, and Anthony Davis.
Insane. Cam Thomas. That's what we're talking about.
And you know what helps him probably stay on the floor too is a lot of his shots that he got were before that Mikal Bridges trade happened last year. Yeah. So having guys like Mikal, having guys like Cam Johnson alongside him, it kind of shadows the lack of defensive effort or lack of defensive ability from Cam Thomas. And that's probably another reason why he's getting the minutes and he's able to show his stuff. And like you said, he's just giving the coaching staff no choice. I mean, you go out there and you keep dropping 30, you're not going to sit the guy.
It's like, oh yeah, he had to start because someone was out. It's like next game, that guy's back, Cam Thomas still starts. It's like, why? Well, because he scored 36 last night. Yeah. We can't justify this guy going back to the bench. We got to play him. And he's the perfect piece that Brooklyn needs. I think he's the perfect piece because he's that guy who can get you a bucket when you need late game.
And last year it was easy to say it was an anomaly. He had 3 big games in a row after Kyrie got traded. Nets don't really have
Yeah, he was
championship
playing
aspirations
45
this year.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this year, it's like you can't keep saying that, man. He's done it for multiple stretches now, and even if it's streaky, those players eat in the NBA too, man.
Yeah.
Like streaky scorers live in the NBA. They're on every team.
Mhm.
People like to have guys that can drop 30. That's just where we're at in the NBA. Yeah, I love that pick from Cam Thomas. My next one is he's not the flashiest of guys. I think people know about him for the most part. It's Bruce Brown with the Pacers. We talked about him. I mean, talk about a pivotal piece to the Denver Nuggets championship last year. It's Bruce Brown. Yeah. And I love that he got paid because it's deserving. And I love that Indiana brought him in. He's one of the only like vets on that team, and he's still only 27 years old. But he's just a guy who will do everything. And he's a guy that pisses off the opposition and especially their fans. Because I remember watching Nets games and, not that I was rooting against the Nuggets last year, but you almost like feel when he comes into a game, he's not a guy that's ever going to kill you with his scoring, but he gets tap in offensive rebounds. If teams leave him open, he'll hit 3 threes in a row. And then all of a sudden the Nuggets or now the Pacers go on a 9-0 run. He just does the little things. He'll annoy the shit out of your star player. At the beginning of the game last night, he and Tatum got into it like 3 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys that when I watch, I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like Bruce Brown's on the court. I'm honed in right now.
No, I like that. And he's a guy too. I love the guys that are both as good defensively as they are offensively. And that's Bruce Brown in a nutshell, right? He plays
just very solid at both.
No, I like that pick. All right, last pick here. I'm between two guys. One guy's a little more popular than the other. Let's see, Dunny. Who do I want to go here? I'm going to go with the more popular guy. I know and probably people will be like, household name. Are you kidding me? This guy's a casual. But he needs his flowers, and it's Franz Wagner. It's Franz Wagner, man. Franz Wagner.
If someone on the Magic was going to get picked.
Everyone wants to talk about Banchero, and I get it. He had an unbelievable rookie season, and Banchero is the future of this team, and he's incredible, #1 overall pick. But Franz Wagner has done no wrong since he's entered the league. He was one of those guys you watch in college basketball at Michigan, where you watch him and you're like, this guy, no matter where he goes, he's gonna be a good fit in the NBA because he just does everything you ask of basically a stretch forward. He can do it. He can handle the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can play defense. He can stretch the floor. He can play make. It does not matter. Franz Wagner can do everything. And I see him improving again to the point where I look at this year and I'm like, Franz Wagner might be the guy for the Magic. I know his shooting splits are down a little bit, his field goal percentage, but he's still averaging 18 points right now. He's got 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Like, this is a guy that just can do everything you kind of ask. And he's the perfect, I think, complement to a player like Banchero, where there's going to be a lot of attention on Banchero. And every now and then he could just take over a game. And he's someone, like I said, he's shoot the 3. He'll drive. He can facilitate the offense. I think Franz Wagner is someone who, like I said, the casual fan, even people will know the name. Like, we obviously, the diehard basketball fans know who Franz Wagner is. I watched him in Michigan, watched him since he came into the league. But he's someone I think who just he needs his flowers done. He needs people to recognize him a little more because I think people know the name but don't really realize he's a very, very good basketball player. And this is a guy that we could see potential all-star game selection. And I could see a guy potentially averaging like 27-4, 26-4, something like that, where he can do what you ask. And not to mention, too, he's got good size. This is a guy who's 6'9", 225. Yeah. We're not talking about this is a big stretch forward. Like, that's Peja type size. Franz Wagner, really like him. He deserves at least a shout out. I know it's not, a nobody, and he's a starter, and he's one of the big guys on the Magic, but not enough people talk about Franz Wagner.
Yeah, no, I don't think many. I would guess just an average someone who watches a couple games a week. If they're not a Magic fan, I'd probably think they wouldn't know him. Yeah. So I think the pick's fair. My last one, I was between a few guys. It just felt right, and he's had some bright spots, and I think it's only going up from here. Robert Williams, and it's
I
it's
knew you'd say Robert Williams.
it's a heart pick because I think just off the court, I think he's one of the coolest dudes in the NBA. Like, there's just a certain swagger about the Time Lord that is appealing, and I don't know how many Portland games you've watched, but Rob's missed some time already. He has a 15 to like 18-foot jump shot now that he barely brought out on the Celtics. He really didn't shoot it. It was like baseline sometimes, but it was also like, we don't need Rob Williams taking jump shots.
Right.
But he has shown it, and every time I've seen him shoot it, it is nothing but nylon. And you add that to what we know about Robert Williams. He's an incredible rebounder. He does everything that he does above the rim. Lob catcher, blocks all the shots. And I think, he's going to be important for Portland going forward, or him and Brogdon are both probably going to be good trade pieces if the Trailblazers, decide to go that direction. But yeah, my last one shouldn't be a surprise. It was Rob Williams. I was going to go Terrence Mann if I didn't go Robert Williams, but
yeah, I don't hate that either.
Yeah. And that is
5 for you, Dunny, or was that 4? I think you stuck one extra one in on me.
Well, that's what I said. I said I was going to go Terrence Mann.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, that was Robert. It was Rob, Naz Reid, Derek White, and Bruce Brown.
And then, yeah. Okay. And then I had 4.
Oh, wait, no.
No, you had a 5th. You stuck one in on me because you started the snake draft. You ended the snake. It's week 2 of doing a snake draft. We have 2 people. We didn't even do a snake draft this time. We alternated. We still screwed it up.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I gave you 6.
No, you gave me 4. You had 5 because you started, you ended.
No, yeah, I'm saying yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
I said 5, and then the Terrence Mann was 6. Yeah.
All right,
okay, wait. So scratch that. Rob Williams not on my list. Jalen Duran over him.
Yeah, I was
because right before we started, I remembered I don't have Jalen Duran written down. I remembered him. I had Rob, and then I remembered I scratched that. All right. You got me, Steve.
No, you're good. You're good. I'll give you Rob as your honorable mention.
So we'll put this draft on socials. You guys can let us know who you think won. Maybe next week we'll ask Jake at the top who he thinks won. Last thing here, we talked about the C's. It was my birthday this past Saturday, and I got showed the listeners and the watchers one of my gifts here.
Let's see it.
It is a premium vinyl Jason Tatum figure.
Oh, that's sick.
Gonna keep this bad boy in the box. I know the glare is bad, so this is what it looks like on the back
sick.
here. But yeah, shout out to my girlfriend Julia for getting this for me. And yeah, me and Steve are excited about the C's. I got my vinyl Tatum figure.
We're both undefeated. We're both undefeated.
C's and Mavs.
Yeah.
So,
we're feeling good right now. Donnie and I could talk for the next 24 hours about the Celtics and Mavs if we're being honest.
We really could. We thank you guys for sticking around, listening to the draft at the end. The 3 of us will be back next week to talk more hoops. Follow Trainwreck Sports. Follow at Happy Hour Hoops 1 on all socials. Follow along with us if you're watching. If you have questions or you want us to talk about something in the next coming episodes, just let us know. We had some commenters tonight from the YouTube.
Shout out JBC.
Yeah, shout out JBC. I don't know about his take on the Bulls, but hey, we'll see. I'll invite that in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'd love that. For Steve, Jake, who left early, and myself, have a good night, guys. Enjoy the hoops.
See ya.